I had a great question from a viewer who talked about my attitude towards safety, particularly in context with passage planning. And I've not really spoken about passage planning that much. I think I briefly mentioned it in one of the very early videos. So I guess it's good to revisit that. It's important. Minimizing risk at sea is hugely important, because for anybody who's done solo sailing in particular, and anybody who's done cruise sailing, you know how important it is and how easy it is to get into difficulty with the rapid change of conditions in the ocean, and the fact that you can't get off the boat. There's no lay-by to pull into. You've got to just front up to it and deal with it, and then get back to shore if that's where the best place is to get to. So this is kind of what I do. I mean, actually, when that question came up, I started looking at some videos. I was curious, really, as to see what I could find about boats getting into trouble. And there are all kinds of scenarios, and it occurred to me there are a multitude of things that impact on whether a boat gets back safely or not. And of course, that's the skipper, that's the crew, that's the boat itself, that's the ocean conditions, and of course, the wind. And if everything goes well, it's a great sail. If things don't quite sort of mesh together, then it can be quite bad. And obviously, people have died at the sea because conditions have been quite severe. Such as, down round on the Southern Oceans, or in the Fastnet race, or in the Hobart race, who are sort of notorious areas for unchanging conditions. We're quite fortunate in the UK because we've got a number of organisations and agencies that are dedicated to safety at sea or the coastline. The overall governing body is going to be the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, a government body. But they operate purely in the UK, although they will coordinate with, say, French, Dutch, and Irish counterparts to coordinate a rescue at sea in international waters. Now, the other organisation is the RNLI, which is the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. That is a charity, UK charity, but it's quite unique because it's a charity that operates around the UK and also Ireland. And it has saved, I think it's some in the region of 130,000 lives, but it's also lost 600 of their personnel whilst at sea at duty. So the ocean is never, ever to be taken lightly. This is actually the next part of my journey. I'm in Padstow, and I've decided I'm going to head up to Barnstaple Bay. So the process is simple, really. I've got a variety of apps on my phone. Some are paid, some are not paid. And what I do is I'll access the information I need. So predict wind first. I'll probably check that last night. I check it 2-3 times a day. Now, predict wind changes at 8 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock in the evening. So you only get really 2 readings. So, of course, a lot can change in that time. But I'll have a look anyway, see what's happening, see what wind direction is, any changes in the wind direction. And then what I do is I'll check distance of my planned route, just as a rough guide, really, to see what time frames involved, kind of speeds I need to do to get there by nightfall. And then what I do is I look at anchorages. Yeah, this is my present anchorage, and I'll go out to where I want to be. So I'll check the new anchorage options. But of course, ultimately, navally is not the definitive anchorage guide. It is just whatever people put in there. So you can anchor anywhere as long as you feel it's safe. And of course, anchoring is going to be based on wind direction, swell direction, and so on. So you obviously want to pick a nice one. Now, ultimately, of course, what I do is I refer to the Sailor's Bible, which is a copy of the Reeds. And I'll go and look at current direction. Current direction based on my time of arrival, my time of departure, and so on. And of course, I'll marry that up to where I'm at, based on tides, and of course, marry it up to where I'm going, also based on tides. Are tides relevant? Am I going to have to go into a spot where it's a dry dock, for example? It's only got a sort of opening time of 2 hours. But of course, in this instance, Ilfracombe is a big bay, so tides are relevant, but they're not crucial. in the sense that I just got to be aware of where I'm going to anchor. Now, the one thing in Ilfracombe is the fact that the tidal drop there is a few metres. It's quite a few metres. I think it's about 4 to 5 metres. And that's something else I need to understand. And this is this is something that has grown on me very, very slowly. It's like, for example, when I anchored in Newquay in the previous video, and I mentioned it, at first I had to reset the anchor because I was too close to shore. Of course, winds and tides are great, but what's under the water, that's the key. So charts come into play. Now, I've got plenty of paper charts, but the vast majority of those are in the channel, the English channel. So I'm getting to that area now where I don't have paper charts anymore. So I have my plotter. Ray Marine, is it Ray Marine? Can't remember. And I'll look at that. I'll check where I'm at, and I'll check the route, and because I've already know where I'm going, and I'll look for obstacles. See if there's anything obvious, just under hidden sort of things, wrecks, under water rocks, and that kind of stuff. And ultimately, of course, I will check where I anticipate to anchor. I would have made a decision where I want to anchor before I start. So I go and check that, see what's like there, and what the depths are like, and how shallow it is, the kind of the runoff with the tidal range, and so on and so forth. And there are some final considerations. First and foremost, you've got to consider whether you are personally fit to do the planned route, and is your boat up to it as well. And then you have the final pieces of kit. Do you wear a lightweight jacket? Do you need something a bit more ocean-rated jacket with salopettes? And then, of course, do you need to have a life jacket? And do you wear a harness? That last piece is a piece of kit that's going to attract the strongest of views in the sailing community. Some people will not get on a boat without them, and other people will never wear them. I do wear them. I've worn them around Land's End, and I've worn them in a couple of other locations when the conditions are expected to be quite hard work. And personally, it's a choice that we make, and we have to live with that choice and live with the consequences of that choice. So a little bit of gentle sailing today, which is rather nice. Only about 9-10 knots of wind. Still just off starboard, port side beam, sternway. But kind of heading in the right direction. It's a pleasant day today. Easy going. Still got a long way to go, about 30 nautical miles, but it's steady progress. Going to be anchoring tonight and tomorrow. It's no wind tomorrow at all. So it's Wednesday, going to be pretty much a day off. Well, it's a stark contrast from the last few days. Oh, this boat's bloody turning on its own again. It's got no steering at all. It is a real pain in the arse. I can't get away for 2 minutes without it deciding it wants to go in its own direction like a mischievous little child. I just want to play games. Actually, catch me. Right, so Can you hear that? Isn't that lovely? Beautiful sound. We're doing probably 3.5 knots. The engine gave about a knot speed. So we're doing about 3.5 knots on sail. Got 9.5 knots wind on the port beam. So steady. I'm not in a rush. Slowly learning that one with sailing. There's little sort of white flashes you can see on the coast over there. I really did think I was going to get a nice comfortable anchorage tonight, but yet again sailing conditions throw a little curveball just to teach me that it's not always straightforward. In fact, I think it's teaching me it's never bloody straightforward, but there you go. Well, this is a new one on me. So I worked it out, the little conundrum, it's the tide or the current. There's clearly a current going around the basin and it's taking the boat that way, even despite the wind coming this way. So I'll show you this, hang on. So you can see the flag there. The arse is facing into the wind. and the anchor is actually over here. So the line is running back there to the bow. Crazy stuff. A new experience. There you go.